Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is Stephen Nehrenz with This Week in Weather.
Hey there everyone, meteorologist Stephen Nehrenz here. Welcome back to another edition of This Week in Weather on this December 23rd. As always, from the News on 6 digital studio, appreciate you joining me here. I hope you like weather statistics, in particular some Christmas statistics, because I got a lot of those coming at you here in just a second, because we have got some record warmth coming our way for Christmas if you hadn't heard about the trends already. So I'm going to kind of break it down in a bit of a historical context here in just a second, kind of look ahead to see when we could eventually break this record warm streak. So that's all coming up here momentarily. As always, you know where to find me if you've got questions, comments, suggestions, what you'd like to hear discussed on This Week in Weather. Is now somehow, some way we get to the end of 2026, at least next week we'll be getting to the end of, 2025 and starting 2026. There we go. If as we get into the new year, it's kind of a good time to refresh maybe the ideas of, hey, I'd like to hear you talk about this topic or talk to this person on This Week in Weather. So you can shoot me an email, Facebook message, or comment under these videos on our News on 6 Weather YouTube channel. That's where you can find me as always. All right, again, if you've been following the weather trends for the last several days, you probably know this already, but we are in for record warmth for not only Christmas holiday, but about a 5-day stretch here through kind of the extended Christmas week and weekend of record high temperatures. In a couple of days, we could be demolishing records by several degrees. And there's a primary culprit of that. If you're kind of wondering, okay, why is it going to be so warm, feeling like mid to late spring for Christmas? Well, the primary culprit is this. As we take a look at the big picture, big upper level ridge or mid to upper level ridge of high pressure in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere is what that means. The jet stream is constantly changing, right? So we have upper level lows, upper level troughs, upper level ridges that are constantly moving and swaying back and forth and strengthening and weakening. And that jet stream is what drives our weather patterns here. And so the upper level ridges can develop. You hear us talk about these a lot in the heart of summer, right? These ridges, heat domes is what we call them a lot of times in the summertime, when they just take over, they dominate the weather pattern. It keeps any rainstorm chances away from us, cranks up the summer heat. Well, they can happen in wintertime too. Of course, not that it's bringing us summer heat, but this upper level ridge that we have in place through our Christmas week is very strong by December standards. So almost, record strength. I was reading some kind of discussions and statistics from the folks at the National Weather Service office here in Tulsa, who are amazing, by the way, and discussing kind of, this will be a very wordy, lengthy, nerdy word to say, how anomalously strong, if I can say that right, this upper level ridge is. The long and short of it being, this strong of an upper level ridge usually does not happen in late December. In fact, it's strong enough that there may not be records of a ridge this strong in late December, at least for record-keeping purposes. All that to be said, so a very wordy way of saying this is not only an upper-level ridge that's dominating the weather pattern, but it is way stronger than usual for late December. So not only are we in for record Christmas temperatures, and kind of the days before and after Christmas as well, much of the country is going to be way above normal on temperatures for Christmas Day, and other kind of surrounding states, surrounding cities around us here in Green Country are also in for, if not record warmth, like top 2 or 3 record warmest Christmases as well, from kind of the southern Central Plains, even kind of on the eastern side of the Rockies. There's quite a few areas outside of like the far northern United States that's in for some big time warmth for Christmas. Again, that was a very wordy way of saying very strong upper level ridge in place that is bringing almost more like a late spring pattern into the area, and it's almost a summertime setup again by December standards. So here's where we're headed. So we're recording this on Tuesday, December 23rd, which by the time this is posted, we'll know if we broke a record high today. We're expecting to break a record high today on the 23rd, and then let's go forward for the next 4 days. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Friday the 26th, Saturday the 27th. So what you see on the screen there as the forecast for those 4 days. In the yellow bars, those are the forecast lows for each day. The red bars are the forecast highs for each day. And I've got little asterisks next to each number where we're forecasting either tying a record high or breaking a record high. And I want you to notice, I have an asterisk next to every single number on that graphic except for one. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Friday the 26th, Saturday the 27th, record warm morning lows are very, very likely. And some of these records are going to be, like way above what we've had before. And then those high temperatures, Christmas Day, Friday the 26th, Saturday the 27th, we're expecting record high temperatures. And we're close on Christmas Eve. Those Christmas Eve afternoons, the only one that I don't have a little asterisk next to. The record high on Christmas Eve is 80 degrees. Don't think we'll quite get there, but we will be pretty darn close. Would it totally shock me if we got there? No, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly. So I think that is a very succinct but very notable way of breaking down this record stretch that we're on. Again, we get ups and downs all times, all the time throughout the year, and even in winter time. And when we coming into winter discussed how we were in at least somewhat of a weak La Nina pattern, which oftentimes, depending on the strength of La Nina, can favor milder, warmer than normal winters overall for us, but can also feature big ups and big downs. You think about how cold it was to start December, and now we're just kind of rocketing 180 the other direction here. It's kind of an example of the kind of the large swings that we can have in a La Nina pattern. Not that to say that this is all caused by La Nina, but it could be one of a few factors. But having said all that, even when we get big warm-ups in wintertime around here, it's usually like a 1 or 2 day deal. And then, we kind of quickly drop back in wintertime. But the fact that we are going to go essentially 5 days with numerous record-breaking temperatures is pretty notable. That's, even by crazy Oklahoma weather standards, that's pretty rare. That's something that we just very rarely do this time of year. So, I hope you have got, I don't know, T-shirts, cut-off sweaters for Christmas. I don't know. You're not going to need the big coats for Christmas. Just kind of a glance ahead for Christmas Eve night, Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. You're going to church services, or if you're already opening presents at home through the evening hours, you're going out to see Christmas lights, and then later in the night putting out milk and cookies. Again, look at these Christmas Eve evening temperatures Wednesday evening. We're in the low 70s, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Mostly cloudy skies and pretty steady south-southwest winds. And at least for a little while, higher humidity than we normally have for wintertime as well. That will start to change as we head towards kind of the second half of this Christmas week and Christmas weekend. So Christmas Eve night, very warm. Here's the comparison of where we're going on the Christmas Day record temperatures that we're expecting. As we go through this next 4 or 5 day stretch, many of the record lows and record highs that we're either tying or setting or breaking, expecting to break, are within about 1 to 2 to 3 degrees of the current record. The records that we are currently forecasting to set on Christmas Day are ones that truthfully could stand for a while around here, because what you've got on the screen here, what you're seeing on the screen, those are on the left side, the top 5 warmest low temperatures that Tulsa has recorded on Christmas Day. And these records for Tulsa's temperatures go back to, at least reliable records, go back to 1905. So we're talking about 120 years worth of temperature records. So the top 5 warmest lows that we've had on Christmas morning, or at any time on Christmas, because you can have a low in the nighttime as well. That's getting too far into the weeds. But our top 5 warmest low temperatures on Christmas Day, 51 is currently our warmest, and we're forecasting 63 degrees. That is not record-breaking and record-smashing, record-demolishing, whatever you want to call it. That's why I think that this is a record that could stand for potentially a long time, compared to what the current top 5 of warmest Christmas Day lows are. And it's kind of the same deal when we go to the Christmas Day highs. Again, on the left side of your screen there, you can see our current top 5 warmest Christmas Day highs in the low, all of them in the low 70s. The current warmest is 73, set back on Christmas Day in 1922, and we're forecasting 79. Again, that is just smashing the current record, soon to be old record for Christmas Day. And when you set a record by that much, again, stands to reason that this could be a record that stands for potentially quite a long time. Unless something extremely unforeseen happens weather-wise, with clouds way thicker than expected or something along those lines, it looks like that we are lining up for well, easily the warmest Christmas on record, which we've been kind of tracking that way for several days now. You notice, again, in that top 5 of warmest Christmas days, 2021, 2019, 2016 were all very warm ones in the top 5 in the low 70s. And like I said, we're going several degrees above that. Now, here's kind of the comparison of just to give you perspective of where our Christmas has been over the last decade. It's kind of been like a little Jekyll and Hyde. It's either been pretty chilly, cold. I mean, not like Arctic cold, but it's either been cold or warm. There hasn't really been a ton of in between on those highs over the last decade. I'll take them full screen for a second so you can read those numbers a little bit better. Our last 3 Christmases have been much more, well, like you would expect Christmas temperatures to be. The highs from 2022, 2023, and 2024 were all generally in the lower 40s. It was 46 last year. And on Christmas 2022, we actually had a trace of snow on the ground in parts of green country from, I believe it was the day before in 2022. But then you notice the fluctuations here. I mentioned how 2021, 2019, 2016, as far as Christmas Day goes here in Tulsa, are all within the top 5 warmest Christmas Day highs that we've had, and we're going to add to that this year. So over the last decade, it's been like 5 Christmases way above normal, and then 5 Christmases that were either below normal or kind of in the chilly range, cold range that you would expect for Christmas Day. And, well, obviously we're going back to the record warm side of things for this year. And I also mentioned earlier that it's not just us. A large majority of the country will be above normal, and quite a few areas kind of right in the heart of the middle of the country will also be breaking record highs on Christmas. So I think you can kind of follow the trend here. That also means it's not going to be a white Christmas, obviously not for us, but the large majority of the country is also not going to have a white Christmas. This is the amount of snow cover for the lower 48 continental United States. As of today, as of the 23rd, as of recording this, around 18%, only about 18% of the lower 48 with snow on the ground. You can tell where it is. Most of the Colorado Rockies, the mountain ranges there as you head towards the Pacific Northwest, and then kind of that swath. We've been talking about this from really late November through December, that persistent area that had storm tracks from the northern plains through the Great Lakes through the Northeast, where they've had way more snow than almost anyone else so far this winter. Those are the areas that still have snow on the ground, but 18%, that's a lower percentage than what you consider typical as we head into Christmas. And I think that percentage actually could lower a little bit over the next day or two with the warmth continuing to expand across the country. This is kind of the new snow accumulation for over the next day or two. I'll take it full again for a second because I'm covering up some of the Northeast. So, generally the same areas that already have snow on the ground right now. Some of the mountain ranges there in Northern California, and then portions of the mountains of the Pacific Northwest, and then the far Northeast. But notice even the Colorado Rockies not showing a lot of snow over the next couple of days. And the far northern plains that have had a lot of snow so far this winter, not showing a whole lot. So where would that leave us for Christmas morning? Kind of forecasting ahead here on how much snow could end up being on the ground Christmas morning. That's what, there is a technical definition for a white Christmas. From a meteorological weather related standpoint, is an inch of snow on the ground on Christmas morning. And like I said, as of right now, only about 18% of the lower 48 of the continental United States has snow on the ground. I don't see anything that's going to lead to that number increasing between now and Christmas morning. If anything, that percentage could decrease a little bit more as far as who has a white Christmas morning. And in fact, just going back to the statistics now, this stats for who has a white Christmas across the United States, really reliable stats on that have only been kept for a few decades. So it's not like it goes way, way, way back, but it certainly looks like that this will probably end up being the least amount of snow on the ground across the continental United States, the lower 48, United States, on Christmas morning that we've had going back the last few decades. Again, just another way of highlighting just how incredibly warm it's going to be across not only our part of the country, but across most of the middle of the country, in the Southwest and the Southeast, and even into the Central Plains. And it's all due to, as I started off the top of the recording here with, that powerful mid to upper level ridge that is frankly more of a summer-like ridge. And like I said, that pushes the jet stream, that kind of the main steering current of the upper level winds way to the north, keeps any rain or snow makers or any precipitation makers away from us with sinking, compressing air under that ridge. And that obviously pushes the cold air way away from us. I mean, the Arctic air is bottled up way up, well, towards the Arctic and into Canada right now. And until that upper level ridge breaks down, it's not going to be able to sink south very efficiently. So now the question is, for those that are looking for a trend away from the record warmth that we're about to go into, is when will that arrive? We'll kind of take you through that on the jet stream here over the next several days. We'll talk about when this ridge will break down, because it will start to weaken in the days ahead, even though it's going to take us several days. So again, we'll just kind of let this roll from today into Christmas Eve, Wednesday, into Christmas Day, Thursday. Here we go. Notice the pattern is almost identical to how it is right now, which means that record warmth continues for us and across a good portion of the southern United States, and then very warm weather, even if it's not record-breaking, elsewhere, with cold air bottled up way up into Canada. And by the way, if you happen to be planning to travel over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, from a weather impact standpoint, I think the most impactful weather for travel by far is going to be in the western United States, the West Coast areas. There unfortunately going to be some more of those atmospheric river setups that we talked about last week for the Pacific Northwest, where they've already had some really bad flooding in Washington State and even Oregon, Northern California. There's more of those setups coming their way in the days ahead. So again, if you're traveling Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, just be aware the west coast of the United States is probably where the messiest weather is going to be. Now, by the weekend, here we go, you finally start to see some changes in that upper level air pattern as the ridge weakens and drops south. Now, this is still several days to go on this, so if you're looking for the cool down, you got to be patient on it. But this would, excuse me, bring a cold front our way Saturday night into Sunday. Right now, it's showing up more for Sunday morning. Now, the only reason I point out that timing is if that cold front sped up a little bit, then that would impact the record warmth that we're expecting on Saturday the 27th. That's obviously still a few days out. But by Sunday, cold front comes diving south. Not necessarily an Arctic cold front, all right, but it looks like a cold front that will be strong enough to essentially knock us back into where we're supposed to be for late December. That would be by Sunday into Monday. Might have a little bit of moisture with it, but again, it's another front, unfortunately, that just the trajectory of where it's coming from, not able to pull a lot of moisture up out ahead of it to bring us like significant rain chances, which we need, by the way, because we're starting to dry out in a hurry across green country. And then we'll let the big picture roll here as we go all the way through next week and then all the way up to January 1st. About, what are we, 9 days away now, which is crazy to say. Still a pattern where that upper level ridge hasn't gone away yet. Now it's kind of fluctuating its path of where it is and weakening and strengthening. It looks like that they'll start allowing more of those intrusions of the cold air, some taste of Arctic air into the northern plains, the Great Lakes, the Northeast United States. How often have you heard me say that over the past several weeks? It's just been a persistent pattern for them with more active weather on the west coast of the United States. Where we go beyond that is kind of the big question mark as we head into the beginning of 2026, as far as will Arctic air start to kind of change its trajectory, where it's coming from, and start diving south towards us again when we finally get back into a more active pattern that brings us better rain chances, which, by the way, it was kind of in there when I kind of zipped through it here in the big picture, that as we get towards the middle of next week and get closer to maybe right before New Year's Eve. We've been seeing some signs of maybe some rainstorm chances right before New Year's Eve. So that's a long ways out. We'll be monitoring it. But again, this is what that cold front later this weekend does for us. This is temperatures compared to normal, high temperatures compared to normal over the next week. Of course, Wednesday, again, Christmas Eve, Thursday, Christmas Day. You notice how it's like topping out the end of the scale there. Those high temperatures or for the Christmas holiday are like 30 degrees above what's considered normal. Normal high would be upper 40s. Again, we're talking upper 70s to near 80. Friday and Saturday likely don't provide much change. As I mentioned just a second ago, the only thing that could change is if that Sunday cold front speeds up just a little more, it could maybe knock that Saturday temperature down a bit. But it looks like Sunday into Monday, we're back to, at least for a couple days, what we consider seasonable, like normal late December temperatures, not necessarily Arctic air, but kind of bringing us back to reality for a little bit. But like I said, the question is, will that last, or will we just go right back into another warm-up as December ends and January begins? one more statistic to point out for you. Like I said, it's been a bone dry December. Tulsa, this is for Tulsa specifically, we had 1/100th of an inch of rain or liquid precipitation recorded this month. That was on day one. That was on December 1st. That was that morning when we had some sleet and some freezing rain and some messy travel. There hasn't been like a drop of precipitation for most of us since then. A few areas have had some small bits of precipitation pretty much at the beginning of the month, but since then it's been bone dry. And so I point that out because as of this point, we're certainly tracking towards one of our driest Decembers on record, as you can see. And the longer we go on this streak, even though we expect to get drier and drier as we head into the winter, it's just typically a dry season for us. The longer we keep this up, and especially if we're staying dry and warm and record warm, the more that goes along, the more the fire danger cranks up. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that. Once we get through the Christmas holiday into this kind of extended Christmas weekend and beyond, fire danger is something that we're going to have to be monitoring more on a daily basis. This is just a kind of a last peek ahead here before we wrap things up as we head towards the beginning of 2026. Still, a lot of the signs, kind of long-range climate signs, climatological patterns, I should say, favor us still being in a overall warmer than normal pattern as we start 2026. Now, again, that doesn't mean that there won't be any cold fronts or any cool downs, but it's just still a setup at that point that doesn't favor just a huge Arctic air intrusion across much of the United States. Like I said earlier, the question will be how long will that last? But there are some signs that possibly the pattern, even if it's still warmer than normal, starts to get slightly wetter than normal as we head towards the new year and beyond. Again, which we will need because, like I said, as I just showed you that statistic, we're starting to dry out in a hurry across green country. So that's kind of where we are trending here. That was a lot of statistics to throw at you and a lot of explanations about the records that we're going through, but it's like I said off the top, I wanted to point it all out because this is not only record warmth for Christmas, but record shattering, demolishing, smashing warmth that will be notable, remembered for a long time around here. So I thought it was important to point that out here as we head into the Christmas holiday. Again, I appreciate you joining me for This Week in Weather, as always streaming on our News on 6 Weather YouTube channel. And of course, you can go back, if you've missed some previous episodes, go back and kind of catch those archived episodes and also see our daily forecast updates from our newscast that get posted to that channel as well. And again, we'll be back with you next week to kind of do a wrap-up of 2025, which, again, it sounds crazy to say that it's already here. Well, from me and from all of us here at the News on 6 team to your family out there, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday season. I hope it's a very safe and a very blessed one for you and your family and your loved ones. Want you all to stay safe out there, and again, enjoy the holiday season. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's own digital studio live stream from the Bob Mills Weather Center. Stay with News on 6 online and on television anytime for the latest weather updates to keep you safe and informed.